Throw a rock into a pond, ripples fade away. Human hearts aren't so lucky, those battle scars remain. Oh, I can't let go of the one thing I wanted most. I'm chasing echoes, echoes of your ghost. Can't let go of the one thing I wanted most. I'm chasing echoes, echoes of your ghost. La da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da. Ripples fade away. Human hearts aren't so lucky, those battle scars remain. Oh, I can't let go of the one thing I wanted most. I'm chasing echoes, echoes of your ghost. Can't let go of the one thing I wanted most. I'm chasing echoes, echoes of your ghost. La da 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 da. La da 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 da.
Brace yourself, it's Poske. Welcome to my Ignister deck notes. This deck with one and a half card combos has 91.6 consistency. Now that's really high. I'm usually happy when my decks are at 94% consistency, and this deck does reach that amount once you factor in, multi-card combos without these 16 cards I'm hovering and have shaped in a letter E. I do recommend, of course, maxing out on all of those. You do need small board. If it ever gets hit, that's really a bummer and will impact matching ratios. But as it stands, just max out on them. The one card combos they provide are too broken to be dismissed. As far as matmix go, you do have to run circular, because Ignister is too fragile of a deck. Without circular, it just flops if your normal summon, let's say, gets interrupted by Baron, Crystal Wing, or anything similar. You do need that second wave of Cybers dropping so that you can salvage your place. Now, of course, Ignister Island also does help with your Cybers droplings, with your second wave of Cybers playstrings if things go south on your normal summon. But, Island requires another Cybers starter usually. It can't do all the carrying through, Ice Vortex, Baron, and similar cards. You do need Circular Engine for the sake of extension. Also, Circular Engine gives the deck an insane output. It gives you a super factorial. Laplacian is the second best Cybers boss monster you can play in this deck. Now, as far as the differences between my build and your usual Ignister build, I'm basing my deck around the best Cybers boss monster Ignister can play, which is original Darkfluid. I'll talk briefly about worse options later. I'm also abusing Bururu way more than your average Ignister player, because I'm not hostaging this card with Anmari. I'm doing something progressive. I'm indirectly with Splash Mage and Pegasus Synchro Summon, and as you have seen in the combos Bururu Trigger, I'm indirectly special summoning Dojon or Pikari from the deck. So, that's how you unleash Bururu. And, Bururu is a searchable card via an extra deck wicked. And that's just, clean game plan. You have to cycle this card properly to gain the highest advantage possible, and I do that, and that's why my Ignister combos do more with less. I just abuse Bururu properly. Another thing which separates my build from other Ignister builds is that I'm turboing Laplacian before Dark Templar, which means that at least I have, my entire trap setup before Templar, and my superfactorial setup is not reliant on Templar. Now, I have seen people play Dojo on H2. That's just never correct. The follow-up doesn't matter. If you think follow-up matters, that just means your first turn game plan is bad. And I don't know how did you manage to do that to a point you would want a stronger follow-up. With Dojo, the follow-up is strong anyway, and they never, break the board. They usually just surrender. They get negated, they surrender. Now, as far as Ignister extenders go, I'm playing Doshin plus I Love Fusion, because to me this is the second best way you can turbo the Subworm. And why wouldn't we utilize that? Doshin got promoted to a Sprite level extender card. This deck has one of the best Kizan monsters in the game. Kizan being a monster which you can special summon if you control another specific monster thingy. He even has an older version of himself, so that's why I call them all Kizzles. But Ignisters are one of the best Kizzles in the game, along with Sprite Monsters, weird Blackening card, you know, there is an Evil Light card which is a great Kizzle, but Ignister has 3 insane Kizzles. It summons itself and it searches a fusion. It summons itself, it can become level 4, which is crucial because this deck is really a secretly a rank 4 turbo. You wouldn't expect it, but since Picari can mold another monster level to 4, since Hiyari can become level 4 and he can be added back with Ocean, you end up with a pretty consistent Alembartian turbo, and that's why, you know, as long as Circular is in the game, he's gonna be in the deck. Yeah, Ignister Extenders are just insane. Most decks would wish to have such cards. There is no point in not running any of them. Now, as far as what's the best way of turboing Disarm, the best way is actually Proxy F Magician. Any 3 Cyberus monsters equals Disarm. The third best way of sending the save room in the graveyard is Terahertz. You have seen me play Terahertz in Snake Eye. You can check that video out. You have seen me. I'm gonna play this card in the Rescuers, and most people do. This card is good, but in Ignister it's only the third best way of accessing Disabler. Now there are even more ways of accessing Disabler, and we can talk about them. But generally, Doshin and Proxy F Magician are really elegant solutions on how to turbo this card, and you know, why wouldn't you want a spell and trap negate? This card also kinda nerfs Danmari purpose further, because we really just wanted, you know, a spell and trap negate. Now, as far as Hiyari goes, I mean, Hiyari, you can't play the deck without Hiyari. He helps you turbo Alembartian through difficult times. You can't go without him. In my opinion, this card is more insane than Sprite Blue. It just so happens that the ritual card it could search is not that great. Now, Gachiri kinda turns Darkfluid in a broken boss monster. Every other boss monster, you could also Gachiri, but none of them are anywhere near level of the Darkfluid, because I mean, they either disrupt all at once with multi-bounce, or even, you know, becoming immune just doesn't matter because they're already immune, or your opponent can just interact with cards sent to the graveyard. Now, as far as Matmex go, Ignister by far is the best Cybers deck. However, Matmex are the best engine for Cybers decks. Circular should stay limited. That's for sure. This card is rightfully limited. Ignister, Matmech, and Formwood Skipper Turbo can abuse this card way too much. Run Circular at whatever amount you can, of course. Now, a card Circular sends as a cost is Sigma. Just 1 Sigma boosts the Circular going second power a lot, so that's the minimum you can play if you want at least some Circular hard open power. Matmech Subtraction is for sure the least relevant Matmech card in this deck, because you are not that likely to search it, and this card is only played to boost the going second power of Matmech engine, yet you are not likely to search it because it's only searchable by Alembartian, while, for example, Equation is searchable with both Alembartian and Circular, and therefore it's more likely you'll be able to extend with Equation. Now, sure, Subtraction is a better draft than Equation, because Equation, you know, only works if you actually have Matmix in circulation. However, consider that access to Equation to me matters more. Also, the fact that this card is a free body extender doesn't matter much, because This deck doesn't have Assault, this deck doesn't have Link Devotee, Link Disciple. You know, in Matmix, this card is great because of Devotee, Disciple if you're playing them, and you should be playing them. However, in this deck, you need to trigger Wicked and you need Island access to full combo. So you need 3 monsters, and that one subtraction body doesn't do all that much. You know, this card is close to a brick, even though it's an extender. You shouldn't look at it as an extender. Now Nabla is here because Nabla increases the amount of Matmech monsters you have in circulation. This is the best way to do so. I have seen people terahertz Foolish Diameter to the graveyard as a third Matmech monster, but such approach is problematic because you only enable Matmech engine super far late into the combo. Yeah, it's just a very choke point at that point. Now, Diameter adds a negate. It can, you know, if you normal summon him, revive a level 4 monster, which can come up if you hard drain with Island, but mostly a brick for a negate. It is not wrong to cut this card if you wanna increase the consistency, but the deck is already consistent, so what's the point? I'd rather have the endboard power. It's also, you know, not incorrect to cut the subtraction due to reasons I have mentioned earlier. And this is generally, you know, the Matmech ratio you should stick to. Keep in mind, on activation, as he searches the Isle of Fusion, he also puts back the Splash Mage back into the extra deck, which is, you know, useful in case you have to do the access code Talker Climb. Yeah, I love Fusion finally has a good target. I highly recommend running it. It also helps you replace Island in certain instances because it summons either Bururu or Dojin, and that helps you full combo. In case, you know, your opponent cuts you off of Island access, this also means that if your infant gets stopped, your deck is more resilient because it's less reliant on Island. As far as Isle of Fusion goes, also you can fuse away your opponent boss monsters because of the save room requirement. You can fuse away your opponent's terahertz, which is, as I mentioned before, common in some future and current strategies. I have seen people are playing Cyber Switch. Cyber Switch is just not worth it. People got heavily baited by the Cyberstorm. Both cards, Cyber Switch searches, need to stay in the deck for you to search them. There are also both bricks. Cyber Sage, people also used to go into Cyber's Integrator with a Chi-Chi. That's so specific. You need both a Chi-Chi and Sage. It's gimmicky. It's not gonna happen to interruptions. It's not fetchable. That's just a fragile play string you're forcing up on the deck for no reason. You know, Pegasus, you may think doesn't progress the combo, but he actually does. Since you synchro off Bururu plus any level 4 into him, he is what allows Bururu to summon those monsters with their effects. So he is a key reason why Bururu special summons from the deck indirectly. And that outclasses whatever Cyber Sage Integrator nonsense you can do. Yeah, just Ritual Angels don't exist in non-ritual decks. Sage was an attempt by Konami, not good enough. Fireball Dragon Singularity, aka Code Talker support. This card is amazing in Code Talkers. This is not Matmech support, this is not Ignister support. Cyberstorm Access baited way too many people. This card is too needy, too greedy, it takes up too much extra deck space. You need to run Crystal Heart, you'll probably need, you know, Cyber Switch, you'll have to skip the Super Factorial, you'll have to use Circular to send Sigma, you'll have to use a Link Decoder just to feed the Singularity. Singularity will need something useful to revive at opponent's turn, which is Fireball Dragon, because you can reset its disruption, but that means you also have to turbo Fireball Dragon turn 1, Which sure you can use Bururu, send something 40 moves later, add back Hiyari, try to make Singularity unaffected by card effects via Gachiri, but you know that happens 40 moves later. Obviously, bait playstring. You're forcing Fireball Dragon into the deck at that point. You are also forcing Gigolem into the deck. You have to force way too many cards just to optimize for this, and it's not even worth it to make this card unaffected. The bounce happens all at once. It's just bad. I'd rather negate. Overall, the very first fireball you should be summoning is always Darkfluid. That's always gonna be the best game plan. Now, the other Darkfluid, again, this card goes hand in hand with Singularity. They kinda require each other, which is, you know, that's the Link 11 overall. That's so much, such a huge requirement. Sadly, Singularity is Link 5, so it doesn't work with Anmari, then you need, you know, Singularity. Sadly, we don't have the space for Mirror Logic Aggregator. Sadly, you know, these card negates are way worse than Darkfluid negates in general. Sadly, you know, this Sebrum can be turbo at many ways, in more efficient ways. Yeah, I mean, Terahertz is great generic cards, just not that great for the Ignister. Abdel Jammer is an okay card. I don't have space. Link Spider doesn't actually help against Nibiru, well-timed Nibiru. Link Oribo is great against shot decks. There is no space. This would be the 16th card, Link Decoder. I concluded that Proxy, I concluded that Light Dragon gives me more win rate. Because you can just pop cards, run something over, revive a Link monster, make Darkfluid. That's a good alternative compared to Access Talker, which, you know, you can't really. You have less Link material for Darkfluid with Access Talker than you do with Ignister, Light Dragon popping cards, and then reviving a Cybers. That's why I value Light Dragon. I would not criticize anyone for running Link Decoder, it's not a bad card. I just prefer having, you know, higher going second win rate with Light Dragon. The problem I have with Decoder is in combos, I like what found in multi-card combos is that it was just giving me a hitsel draw. And, you know, I usually even have a hitsel draw anyway, not to mention that rarely you actually draw a one-card combo. You always have a multi-card combo because starters literally get extended with every single card in the deck. Bar Island, yeah, basically every single card in the deck extends and turns, you know, your starters into a two-card combo. So, you know, there needs to be something for that second card to do, and that something is focus on Hiyari and Gachiri, making Darkfluid unaffected. In a one-card Achichi and Pikari combo, you have the entire thing and Darkfluid unaffected, but you will have that anyway do it to every two-card combo in this deck. So, I mean, that's the problem with this card. It's also kind of awkward. It works awkwardly with Dark Templar because you lose one zone. Yeah, it was just not doing enough for me. I, of course, understand why people have to run this for the Singularity. You just need so many bodies, but don't run Singularity and problem solved. Again, this is not a bad card. I'll show you a few combos. It's worth mentioning. You can just like Link or even side this occasionally for going first when you don't need, you know, Light Dragon or, you know, Link or even to counter shot decks. But yeah, generally, Link Decoder not that great, not bad either.
First, let me hop out the motherfucking Porsche. I don't wonder if that ass don't sit like a Porsche. I be ballin' on these niggas, got me feeling like sports. Dash got